Chit. Today I want to go through a few different things. I want to talk about online email marketing, which obviously is vital for any successful agency. I want to talk a little bit about pay-per-click advertising, and I'm also going to give you a few suggestions on some things you can do for free to really improve your agency. So let me kind of start off with a few questions because, you know, I find that when I talk to a lot of my clients and I talk to people who want to improve their agency, they hear a lot of great ideas, and maybe they hear them from me or they hear them from some sort of seminar they've gone to, but they never really ask themselves where their agency is and can they actually accomplish the ideas without spending an incredible amount of money or wasting an incredible amount of time. So here are a few kind of questions to ask yourself as you sit here. One, how efficiently can you actually mass email your clients? What does that mean? What that means is if you had some sort of announcement to send to your client base, how long would it take you to get from a point where you had the idea in your head to actually communicating it via email to your client base? Ask yourself that. In my opinion, it should take between 3 and 5 minutes. If it's any more than 30 minutes, you need to work on some of these things we're going to be talking about today. So that's kind of the first question. How long does it take from start to scratch for me to email my clients? What percentage of my clients do I have email addresses for? Okay, probably every pretty successful agency is going to have somewhere in that 65 to 80% range. They're going to have at least 65% of their clients' email addresses in a database that they could access very quickly. Obviously, how accurate are those email addresses? And then more importantly, on top of having a list of your clients, do you have a list of potential clients' email addresses? And are they organized? Most common question I get, well, what does organized mean, Ken? What organized means is let's say you're a full-service agency, okay? You sell auto and home. You sell commercial. You sell employee benefits. You sell life insurance. When I say organized, you may have a list of business owner email addresses, so you could send employee benefit or commercial risk management stuff to them. Do you have a list of individuals, families, people of high net worth? That's how you're going to organize them. I find that a lot of the top agencies I work with, they have these things organized. It may be in Excel. It may be in their agency management system, but they have it organized because, again, it goes right back to the first question I ask you. How efficiently can you mass email your clients? If you have all these things organized at your fingertips and you can click on a list that's already pre-created, it makes the process much quicker. It makes the process much easier. And where I'm going with this, guys, is I often ask a lot of agencies who are struggling. I say, are you marketing to your clients? And, are you sending out a newsletter? And I'll hear, well, it takes me half a day to make a newsletter and send it out. To me, that's mind-boggling. When you start to say it takes me half a day, that's 4 or 5 hours. If your guy's time is worth $100 an hour, talking about $500 to produce a newsletter, that's crazy. You're never going to get the value back in that. So the key to this stuff is that if you're going to do it, you have to figure a way to do it quick, to do it efficiently, so it's cost-effective, and it can be profitable for your agency. And that's the thing that I think a lot of guys don't think about. That's the true entrepreneur in all of us. So, in my opinion, it's important. You need to have a game plan, okay? And we're talking about email marketing here. So, and I'll go through a few tips in a second, but I think my point is you don't ever want to do anything impulsively. That always equals bad. You always want to think about what you're doing, who's it going to affect, what is the positive that's going to occur, what are the potential negatives. You want to stay away from being considered a spammer. So when you are sending out emails, there are rules, the Canned Spam Act rules we have to follow. You have to make sure that there's an unsubscribe button on the email, stuff like that. Obviously, newsletters are still very valuable. We'll talk about them in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. So I guess what I was kind of putting here is these are the different types of things you can send out via email, newsletters, invites to meetings you're doing. I know a lot of you guys are in the senior market. having open-ended meetings, very important in that market. You know, if you have a list of 1,000 potential clients and you say, hey, look, I'm speaking at X, Y, and Z next week, or I'm doing a webinar, click here to register, email marketing can become the lifeblood for you to getting in front of clients. As you guys know, I'm a big webinar guy. I have probably 100,000 email addresses of potential clients. I'm constantly sending out emails to free meetings I'm doing. It's the lifeblood of my company. There's no reason it can't help your agency as well. And obviously basic marketing emails. All of you guys who are using social media, you know how important it is to actually promote your social media presence. It's one thing to have a social media presence, and it's good that you're posting on it, but that can be really valuable to you. And it can be a real valuable marketing tool. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is let's say you have a social media presence, okay? And you have a client base. In my opinion, it makes a lot of sense to email your client base and say, hey, look, our agency continues to invest. It's 2014. Obviously, technology is very important for any successful company. At Bob's Insurance, we're investing. We have a social media presence. That's a free value-added service to you, our clients. So make sure you take advantage of this free value-added by going there and following us. You know what I'm saying, guys? So my point is that a lot of you guys always come on the webinars trying to figure out how to get more Facebook followers, more LinkedIn connections. One of the ways to do that is to use email, to email out your entire client base and to kind of tell them, hey, look, we're proud of our social media presence. It's a free value added. Go there and follow us to get updates, tips, and expertise. So those are some thoughts to kind of to consider. When we're talking about don'ts when it comes to email, here's some things you never want to do, okay? Number one, never send an attachment to and we're talking about mass emails. What is a mass email? A mass email is an email that is going to more than 5 people at once. So let's say you have 500 business owner clients. You have a list. You click on that list, and it puts all of those emails into the BCC, right, the blind copy. If you're going to send them a message, you want to make sure it's typed in the email. You do not want to put a PDF on that email. Why don't you want to put an attachment or a PDF on there? Because if you send out an email to 500 people with a PDF or an attachment, it will immediately get flagged by the email servers as spam. And it's possible that your email address may get blacklisted. So never, ever, ever send an attachment to more than 5 people at once. Always a bad thing. Stay away from massive newsletters. What does that mean? A massive newsletter is a newsletter that has, 3 or 4 or 5 main articles. You guys are independent agents. You're insurance agencies. I'm sure it's hard enough to write a newsletter on a monthly basis. There's no reason the newsletter has to be that massive. Here's why. Because the honest answer, if people even view your newsletter, they're skimming it. They're not sitting there and reading it like the Sunday paper. It's just a different market than it used to be. Let's face it. Think about how many newsletters you get on a daily basis. You may get an upwards of 20. So if you're going to come up with a newsletter, you want to keep it simple. You want to keep it very topic-oriented. So maybe it's just on changes to the flood insurance laws. Maybe it's just on changes to ACA reform. Keep it at 1 or 2 articles. Keep it simple. Do not have a ton of graphics on the newsletter. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he said, he's got a new service. It's an email newsletter campaign, right? It's brilliant. They give him custom graphics. They give him all this stuff. To be honest, the newsletters look really, really nice. They really do. But they only look nice in what I call the best case scenario. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is if you send a newsletter out to 100 people, probably only 45 of the 100 are going to be viewing your newsletter in what I call the best case scenario, which is they're viewing it on a desktop computer with, all the, things necessary for that email to look good. Think about it logically, guys. How many people now look at email on their smartphone? So how does that magnificent newsletter look on the smartphone? Probably looks terrible because the graphics, they're not sized correctly. So my point is this. When you're creating emails and you're creating newsletters, even though you think the aesthetics are important and that they make a difference, the reality is only a certain percentage of people are going to experience those aesthetics. So in my opinion, you want to keep the aesthetics of the newsletter, the aesthetics of the email very simple. You don't want to have too many graphics. You don't want to have too much stuff like that because who knows how it looks for everybody. It probably isn't going to display, and it may even skew the data. So keep that in mind. That's on my don'ts. Tons of graphics. No good. Make sure, obviously, that when you send an email to more than 1 or 2 people, that you put their addresses in what's called the BCC, which is the blind copy. That means people don't see who the email goes to. They just think it's going to them. Again, just some concepts on newsletters. We are at the point where it is oversaturated. So there is still value, but you want to keep it simple. You want to stay away from the graphics. You want to stay away from posting news. And I see this a lot on newsletters. And I've done my best, actually, to try to get on as many lists as possible to see what agencies are doing. And, let's face it, guys. We are in the world of information. 2014, if you guys want to get info, what do? You probably go onto Google. You type it in. You go to CNN.com. You go to NBC.com. You can get news really quickly. So in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to kind of repost news on your newsletter. You want to, in my opinion, a newsletter is like a blog. You want to have what I call unique content. Maybe it's your opinion. Maybe it's tips. Maybe it's an overview. Maybe it's advice. But it's stuff that's unique. It's coming from you, and there's quote-unquote value in it. To just repost an article, a newsletter, or an article from a carrier, I don't see the value there. And I think that your newsletter is not going to get read. So keep it with tips, agency updates, your opinion. I think that will bring more value. I constantly get questions from people, what are some simple things I should be doing to just get out there more? Here you go. Make sure you have a Google Business account set up. Not sure what that is? Go to Google and type in Google Business account. Set one up. It's free. Make sure you have a Yelp account set up, a free Yelp account. There's a pay account. You don't need that. Set up the free Yelp account. Go to Manta.com. Set up a free Manta account. All these things are listings where you can list your agency, what you do, and your website, but it adds up. It helps, and I highly suggest you set it up. So I had some questions about pay-per-click marketing. And, I could spend 10 hours on this. But here's kind of my free 2-minute overview and analysis. Okay, first off, what is pay-per-click advertising? Well, what pay-per-click advertising is if someone goes to Google and they type in, Miami auto insurance, which I'm trying to do one-handed here. Bear with me, guys. Basically, what it means is on the right side of Google, we can see it over here, you would show up as one of these advertisements, right? So here they are, State Farm, all sorts of ads over here. So theoretically, you could go into that marketplace. It's kind of we'll call it an auction or a bid marketplace. And you could actually get your company listed as #1 here on the right. It wouldn't be cheap, but you could do it. And you could try to drive traffic to your landing page or to your website. I constantly get clients calling up saying, should I do it? I'm told I should do it. I got a $50 gift card. Should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? And the reality is this, and you may not like the reality, but the reality is that this stuff's been going on now since 1996, this pay-per-click marketing, right? So what's that, 18 years? There are a lot of companies, there are a lot of people that are very, very good at it, super experts at it. So what does that mean? What that means is if you want to give it a try, the odds of you becoming successful on your first go is minimal, okay? It's minimal. You're likely going to lose some money because, unfortunately, pay-per-click advertising is a lot like gambling. You put in a budget and, you kind of hope that you win more than you put in. And it's tough because there's a lot of variables. So if anyone is interested in this, they realize that they have to do pay-per-click advertising, my suggestion would be to find somebody local, somebody you can shake their hand, somebody you can go sit with, and let them be your consultant for a little while, and let them kind of educate you on the process, and you can strategically go through the advertisements and how it works. And my point is, start slow. Don't have a big budget. Keep your budget cheap, and learn how the process works and get good at it. And then eventually take it over yourself, or have somebody in your agency run it. Because the thing with this pay-per-click advertising, it's not something you can just set up today and then not pay attention to for a month. It doesn't work like that at all. You have to have your eye on it pretty much on an every 3 hour, every 3 hours you got to keep watching it, changing it, figuring out if you should change your bid, if you should change all the stuff. So my point is if you want to get involved with this stuff, because it can be great, you can generate a lot of business from it, but you have to have to struggle first, understand how it works, and then master it and figure out how to be profitable with it. So my suggestion is, yes, don't ignore it, but don't go throwing money at it. Learn, and then slowly, start increasing your bid. Hopefully that made sense, guys. You may think I'm crazy and you have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think my point is don't go running out there and start trying to spend $500 on Google, because at the end of the day, you'll probably lose it all. You'll get a few leads, but they'll be terrible, and you'll kind of think it doesn't work. This stuff does work. It's just very, very competitive, and it takes a little time to master.